agree with Alan Greenspan. We ought to just eliminate the debt ceiling. Oh, absolutely. We do.
The ability of almost every working American to access more credit than they should have been able to masked the underlying fact that lower and middle class incomes were not rising.
That's not a tenable strategy. Isn't now the time to eliminate it? Oh, we've been a long time ago to eliminate it.
Let's put aside terrorism. Let's talk only about our own homegrown animals that are patrolling America right now. So it goes down to the simplest thing. Be prepared, be vigilant.
Sip the Saturday morning coffee. Folks, how are you? It's James Walton. I am Liberty. It's weird to be with you Saturday morning. You probably won't get this Saturday morning, but wife's out, busy. Kids are downstairs. Hitting video game time pretty hard. Nothing wrong with it. In my book, anyway. You may beg to differ, but that's how we roll here at Casa de Liberty. I gotta brush up on my Spanish, I guess, right? We all know why. We know what's happening at the border. I don't really want to go into it. But these podcasts that are happening over at the I Am Liberty show have been, I think they're a missed opportunity. And I'll be honest with you, these podcasts, just like the one I'm doing now, the one that I record in my own home or in my car while I'm out hiking or walking the dogs and that type of thing, A, they're a missed opportunity. B, they're not very popular. I'm going to be honest with you. They pale in comparison to my live shows. My live shows, my 2-hour marathon live shows, and that's 2 hours with one break. You got to understand what that means. You know, people do 2-hour, 3-hour shows on the radio all the time, and about half of it is commercials. This is a 2-hour live show, and I do about 3 minutes commercials. And yeah, they're a big hit. They're themed out now, and I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about my resources and how I use my resources, right? You know that prepping is a big part of my life. And that is total resource management. If you get a chance, go over to bunkerdays.com. They're not a sponsor. They're good friends. They're a client of mine. They keep the lights on here at my house. If you're into managing resources, they have some of the most intuitive prepping software available to you. Period. So check them guys out, bunkerdays.com. Good group of guys on top of it all. So what I was thinking about is, how do I better utilize this resource? You know, this is something I pay for every month, this bandwidth to do these shows. And I started thinking, you know, what we'll do with these shows. These shows that go, you probably get them through iTunes and that type of thing. Spreaker and what's the other one? Stitcher and all that nonsense. These shows, I think, we themed out the live show, and I think I want to theme out this show too, except we're going to focus totally on the 4 pillars of the I Am Liberty show for these podcasts in particular. Okay, so we have the 2-hour live show, right? It's a very different animal than these. For this show in particular, I want to talk exclusively, maybe not exclusively. I don't know that I can talk exclusively about anything, and you guys know that. But I want to talk about the 4 pillars of the I Am Liberty show each week and bring an idea or a story that features each of the 4 pillars, or that bolsters them, or that whatever. Something that has to do with them every single time we do one of these shows. So we'll talk about topics here and there. We'll talk about other things. One of the things I'm really interested in right now is the solar minimum and what's coming in 2020. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's something. There's a lot there. Maybe we'll get to that in this show. But there's always going to be those topics that are orbiting sort of my mind. But then as we get into the meat of the show, I want to bring a topic on that discusses the importance of strong communities. Maybe it's a news article, maybe it's an idea, maybe it's an experience that happened in my own community, right? And then I want to talk about healthy Americans on each one of these shows. I want to talk about the dynamic lifestyle attitude and mindset, right? To assure that you're not only working hard, not only pushing the pace, not only being the best that you can be, but also putting yourself out there in a way that makes you uncomfortable, in a way that makes you better, and sometimes in a way that's just a hell of a lot of fun. You know, that's the thing about the dynamic lifestyle pillar of the I Am Liberty show. Last night I spent about a good hour after I got everything done that needed to be done. And that's a lot. That's a lot. Everything done that needed to be done. Kids were occupied. Wife was happy. Everyone's taken care of. I sat down on the new HP. And I played about an hour of the Telltale Batman series. And many of you might not know what that is, but that's a really fun game that's sort of modeled after the old Choose Your Own Adventure books. I'm going super nerd on you now, but basically it's a video game. You choose which way the video game goes. There's not a lot of button pressing and that type of thing. It's mostly a story. But listen, sometimes after a long week on a Friday night when everything's finally taken care of, you add something like that into your lifestyle. You fold that in, something new, something different. And that's what I get at with the dynamic lifestyle. And also doing things, like I said, that make you uncomfortable. So in every show, I want to talk about a dynamic lifestyle idea, opportunity, story, whatever. And also self-sufficiency. Always room for self-sufficiency here on the I Am Liberty Show. Those are the 4 pillars of this show, right? Strong communities, healthy Americans, dynamic lifestyles, and self-sufficiency. That is kind of... I've created those 4 pillars because I think if you play in those arenas enough, if you play in those 4 arenas enough where you're concerned about your community, you're concerned about your health and your family's health, you do things that are fun, new, exciting, scary, and you focus on self-sufficiency, you get sort of like, you build this energy blast that you can focus on the problems of life. Let me give it to you. It's like making a Kamehameha wave. God. I don't know. I don't even know if you guys... When I see how many people download the podcast, I just can't even believe that you understand half of what I'm saying. Because I don't even understand half of what I'm saying. So, let's get right into it, okay? Network of community communications is the one thing I wanted to start with today. Because I wanted to talk about an issue that we faced last night at bedtime. Right? So it's bedtime, laying the kids down. I go to the library. All right, that's another DL. That's another dynamic lifestyle move that most people don't do anymore because they look down on it, or I don't know what people think about the library. Probably forgot it existed. But I go to the library at least once a month, sometimes more. And when I go to the library, I get all kinds of kids' books because I have 2 kids, right? And it's holiday time, it's Christmas time. So I've got a ton of Christmas books. Right, tons of Christmas, we're reading Christmas books to the kids as they fall asleep and that whole thing. And there's a loudspeaker going off. It's an atrociously loud, echoing sort of loudspeaker voice that the sort of the tone and the what's the word I'm looking for? The way that the sound was hitting the air and the pattern that it was making, to me, sounded like the announcer of a video game. Of a football game. I'm listening to him saying, God, that sounds a lot like a football game announcer. But we've been living in this house since 2010, and we've never heard a football game from a local high school or anything like that. So I said, it must be one of my crazy neighbors. They must be sitting outside in the cold, and they must be listening to a football game outside, with maybe they have a projection screen. You know how people are nowadays. They don't just watch TV in their house. So I give it time, because I'm beat, man. There's all I can think about is my kids are going to fall asleep and I'm going to go in that bedroom. And my week's going to come to an end. And tomorrow's Saturday. Maybe I don't get up at the crack of dawn for a change. Maybe I sleep for a little while. Maybe I sleep long enough that the room glows a bit when I open my eyes instead of being pitch dark. Because I don't know if you guys know, but I've dug myself a hole. I've gotten up early for so long that now the family's programmed. Even the new dog, even the new beautiful pit bull Bowser is programmed. He's up at 4:30 every day now. And he's ready. And he wants to go run, or he wants to go walk, or he's got to take a pee every morning. He was up today, 4:30, same thing. Luckily today, I just took him down and came back and went back to sleep. But I'm thinking, can I just get some sleep? It's early, kids are in bed. Blah, blah, blah. Now, Lady Liberty hates the thundering boom of bass, the thundering noise of loud things outside, right? When we lived in apartments, man, I worked restaurant shift, late shifts. She would stay out all night just so she wouldn't have to deal with loud people. It's just one of her things. So I walk into the bedroom and she's already got headphones in and she's, so I know what I got to do, right? And I live in a neighborhood that the houses are about as spaced out as you're ever going to see in a city. We've got a lot of room. So I know this is crazy. It's not a matter of nitpicking here. It's a matter of, good God, why is the touchdown reverberating into my house? So I take the dog out. We head down the street. I'm in a thermal t-shirt, a Philadelphia Eagles knit cap, and the raccoon Mario. Do you remember the raccoon Mario from Mario Brothers 3 when you would get the leaf? You grab the leaf and you would get the raccoon tail and you could fly. Either you know it or you don't know it. But I've got pajama pants on with those on. So I guess I look certifiably like a maniac, I guess, and I've got a pit bull in tow with me. And I'll just, whatever. I didn't feel like I brushed my teeth. They're lucky enough I brushed my teeth. So I brushed my teeth and we headed down to go to the next door neighbors and to say, hey, what's going on? And I get down to the next door neighbor, 2 doors down, not our immediate next door. I knew it wasn't them. 2 doors down, nobody's home, lights are off. The sound is still thundering. Okay, go down a couple more houses. An old guy who lives by himself down a few houses down. Go, nobody home. That thundering noise. I find myself at a neighbor's house who has a young child, and I mean a baby. And it sounds like the noise is coming loudest from that home. And I'm saying to myself, this doesn't make any sense. They've got a baby in the house. Why would they be blowing this football game noise out of their house? So what happens next? This is where communication within your neighborhood is so huge, right? Because I have a list of numbers. And I started by calling one of my dearest friends in the neighborhood. Her name doesn't need to be mentioned. But she's one of my dearest friends in the neighborhood and a person who really opened my eyes to the fact that a community can be as powerful as it can. And I got some numbers that I needed to call people on my street that I didn't know, and I made some telephone calls, and no one was surprised to hear from me. It was not intrusive. It was 9:30 a.m. And I made some calls down the street and see what's going on. And lo and behold, we were dealing with a literal high school playoff game. A high school football playoff game from a high school that is behind the main highway, which is behind the woods behind our house. We've never heard anything like this before. Now, granted, there has been some construction and we've lost some trees in one general area, but it's not really in that direction. But we were all just blown away. But the reason I bring it up, one of the 3 things that I talk about when it comes to strong communities is, if you want to lay the base for real community interaction, like if you want to actually get people together, talk to them, and make a difference in your community, there's 3 things that I always recommend. One is starting a community garden, either in someone's backyard, in your backyard, in multiple backyards, in a plot of land that's around the area. Number 2 is using the Nextdoor app or some sort of communication line so that you can keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening in your neighborhood and also talk to neighbors. These things are important. And it was because of this. The 3rd one is neighborhood watch, right? We all need to bolster our neighborhood watch a little more. And with the way things are going in this nation, your neighborhood watch is going to be increasingly more important. I know the prepper guy is telling you that things are going to get bad. Whoop-de-doo. Listen to me. I'm telling you right now. There's no way we head down the path that we're heading down and things don't get worse for you and your family. That's what we're all worried about. We watch the news. What do we think? We're not like, oh, those poor people in Texas. No, how's this going to affect me and my family? Can't get good, okay? It can't get much better the way things are going. And what makes me most scared, not that I'm a Trump guy, not that I'm a guy who thinks Donald Trump is king. I know there's a lot of people out there who are on this whatever it is, this Trump train, and everything he does is great. What's most terrifying to me about Trump is there's going to be a snapback. And there's going to be a progressive snapback that is so extreme I don't know how we don't fall into total civil discourse, to be honest with you. Total social unraveling. So when I say neighborhood watch and you think about the goofy sign with the guy with the coat and the hat, listen, get to work, because you're going to need it. You're going to need that help. But anyway, we used our strong communications abilities within our community to figure out what the problem was. This was not a big problem, right? This wasn't like, oh my God, something's happening. It was a pretty simple problem. We diagnosed it quickly. And in a way, it was a drill. But what's important is the fact that those communication lines were open. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse. You have to have open lines of communication. You have to know neighbors, and you have to know them personally. Okay, it's not good enough to just be Instagram friends with your... By the way, follow me on Instagram, at I Am Liberty Show. Follow me. Look, I'm having so much fun. At Instagram, I've abandoned everything else. It's so awesome for a guy like me, right? Take pictures of stuff, play with the filters, put some words, put some quotes, man, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. If you want to get an angle on the I Am Liberty Show that you might not get otherwise, follow me over at Instagram. I Am Liberty Show, at I Am Liberty Show on Instagram. It's so much fun. It's so much. It's over. Facebook is over for me. Twitter, over. Now, I know Instagram's owned by Facebook, so I'm not doing anything valiant. But I'll tell you what, I'm having a hell of a lot of fun. And that's important, okay? So in the realm of strong communities for this episode, that's what I wanted to talk on. I wanted to speak to how important it is that you have some line of communication with some people in your community. And if you want more information on that strong community idea, strong community mindset, building and opening those communication lines, how do I start? Where do I start? What do I do? Listen, I wrote the book on the topic. It's called Community. You can go to Amazon.com and search it. You can search Community James Walton at Amazon.com. You can just search me and you'll get my bio page, and you can see all the books I've ever written. I was on a show on Wednesday called Surviving Dystopia with DJ Cooper, another great author. I'm sorry, it wasn't called Surviving Dystopia. It was called Writing Dystopia. And it's a show about authors writing in the prepper and survival genre. And it was a legitimate author interview, and I had a lot of fun, man. You can get that at prepperpodcast.com. Prepperpodcast.com. Again, it was Writing Dystopia with James Walton. Check it out. It was mostly about the Christmas hook, because I'm on this sort of PR tour, you know what I mean, to sell some books. Because I'm still awash in this thing, man. I got books to be pushed out. I want to give books away on the show. The live show, so be there at the live show all month in December, in November, probably in December as well. I'll be giving the Christmas hook away. And I want to thank everyone who's read it, the tremendous support that I've gotten from family and friends and colleagues, man. You guys have been awesome. 1 million people. It feels like. It's not that many, but it feels like it. It's bigger than ever. I've been releasing books for a while, and it's bigger than ever. And that's growth. And if you got growth, if you got hard work and you got growth, you got everything, in my estimation. So let's talk about Healthy Americans, because Thursday is the day of reckoning, right? The gym's been packed. I was in there, what was it, Wednesday night? No, it was Thursday night. Actually, exactly a week away from Thanksgiving. The gym was pouring down rain outside. It was still packed, right? Me and Lady Liberty were doing our weekly class together. I love our weekly class together. We don't talk. We don't hold hands. We don't talk about the days of old or the dreams of the future. We just get under weights and suffer together. And I don't know, for people like us, I guess it's something nice. I get some of her things for her when we set up. She gets some things for me when I set up. I clean up for her a little. She cleans up for me. And then we go down and pick the kids up. And we have exerted all of our anger towards each other. All our built-up frustration towards just seeing one another since we've been together for so long. And then we can coexist again and give kisses and the whole thing. But let's get on to the subject of Healthy Americans, the second pillar of the I Am Liberty show. I don't know how you look at Thanksgiving, but it's a tough one. Right? It's a tough one for people who are deeply concerned with health. Now, for me, most of the time, I could throw caution to the wind and I can go in. I can go in and eat like crazy, but I do want to give you a single tip that is pretty effective in terms of what your body's able to do with all that food, because there's no getting around the fact that you put a serious hurting on your body when you put that much food in a short window, carbs like crazy. So what is probably worth doing if you're into it this much? Look, if you want to wake up Thursday morning and lay around in your pajamas till 11 a.m. and cook a turkey and eat it and then fall back into a coma, I don't really think there's anything wrong with it. I've had plenty Thanksgivings just like that. And I may do that this Thanksgiving. But I want to tell you about something that I've been listening to from people who like to eat carbs, who want to eat carbs during the day, and how they time it, right? Now, this is not going to protect you from the amount of calories that you're going to intake on Thanksgiving. The body wakes up and it's not really ready for a tremendous carbohydrate intake, right? But if you do, one of the things that is very popular right now is called fasted cardio in the mornings. And that's, say you wake up and want to eat breakfast at 9 in the morning. I'll tell you how I do fasted cardio. Let me just tell you about that. First of all, the point of fasting really, for me, is to give the body a break. Let me give the body a break. Let me have my body focus on just sleeping, because I don't get a lot of sleep. I'm not a good sleeper. Right? So I stop eating at 7 p.m. No more. Sometimes earlier, but the cutoff for me is 7 p.m. And I won't eat breakfast till 9 a.m. the next day when I'm fasting. So when I wake up, sometimes I wake up 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30. Most of the time I'm up 5 a.m. at the latest, 5 a.m. at the latest. So I have all that time to get in a quick workout session or cardio session, right? And it's minimal. It's nothing big. Might be push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, might be a little kettlebell, might be some yoga. And that fasted cardio is what a lot of people sort of in the know are doing, right? And they're taking advantage of the body in that state while it's not working on other things. This act of working out early and stressing the body early and giving the body energy demands early, it makes your body better able to process a carbohydrate dump later in the day, right? So anyway, you think about it, your pancreas is going to give you the insulin that your body needs to deal with carbs, right? When you get diabetes, the pancreas goes crazy, the insulin levels are all messed up. Now, if I were you and I were concerned about keeping the machine running at optimal levels, what I would do is I would get up, I'd start the day with a decent run, early. Don't tell the family to wait for you. Get up, go run early in the dark, in the cold, put in a mile or 2 or 3, whatever you need to do, and get the body up and going. And then stay up and going. And you're going to create a need in your body for those carbohydrates. And your body's also going to be ready and willing to deal with those carbohydrates when they start to come in. And what do I mean by that? Well, I'm talking about the mashed potatoes. I'm talking about the stuffing. I'm talking about the desserts. I'm talking about all the different carbs that you know you're going to eat. For me, it's going to be potato salad, mashed potatoes, stuffing, those things. Stay active. Get active early. Stay active. Eat minimal. Try to avoid the carbs. Don't wake up and eat a big bowl of cereal. Eat eggs and bacon. Right? Maybe skip lunch. You know, we eat so much. We eat so much that the idea of fasting is insane. Right? You go like 6 hours without a meal, you're ready to kill someone. I'm that way a lot of times. That's why I do the overnight fast, because it makes sense. I wake up like a monster until I get coffee. And that's my drug of choice. And now that I have a relationship with coffee, I have no problem calling it a drug, because it is 100% a drug. And I am 100% addicted. But anyway, if you want to take the healthy route, when it comes to Thanksgiving, you're going to stuff your face. It's the whole point. Get around, enjoy your family. Don't have an anxiety attack over mashed potatoes and turkey. But at the same time, you can sort of put your body in a state where it's going to be, number one, ready to take in that food. Number two, easy or better prepared to digest that food effectively, you'll probably still crash after, because your body's going to be like, dude, what in the world? Drink a lot of water. It'll help stretch your stomach out. You'll be able to impress people at the dinner table, you know. There's always that thing at our Thanksgiving where it's like, how many plates? What's that, your third plate? Fourth plate? There's always that thing going on. I don't know how I'm going to handle it yet. I'm going to play it by ear, okay? I'm not really that worried about it, but I know people are. What else? What else do we got healthy Americans-wise? One of the things that I read this morning that was absolutely terrifying was the fact that they're growing human organs, right? That's not terrifying. I was kind of excited about it until I read this story. So they're growing human organs, right? Growing kidneys, because so many people's kidneys are failing them because of the drugs and because of the sugar. That's not what the article says. That's my diagnosis, being just some kid who's grown up to be some man. Just somebody, nobody who just looks at things and whatever. Whatever I get from is what I get from it. But listen, so many people's kids, you see this is just common sense. Look around the world, see what's happening. Dialysis places are everywhere. Everywhere, everybody's getting dialysis. Kidneys we're just murdering the kidneys. With the ibuprofens, with the drugs from the doctors, with the Coke every single day of our lives, with the sugar, with the carbohydrate, the processed carbs every day, no working out, no drinking water. It's just what it is, okay? I mean, some people have legitimate diseases that affect their kidneys, okay? I don't think there's that many that we need a dialysis on every corner and that we need to grow kidneys because so many people's kidneys are failing. It's a little something more than that. But anyway, so they're growing kidneys. Cool. How cool. Stem cells growing kidneys. Amazing. Science saves lives. Science saves lives. You can't get around that. Apparently, these kidneys, the problem is, the quote was they started going rogue and they began to grow muscle cells and brain cells on them. Right? Because these stem cells, I guess, I don't know the whole story with stem cells, but I know they're really good at regenerating tissue, different types of tissue. So you're starting to grow a brain on your kidney and some muscles on your kidney. Cells now. You know what I mean? There wasn't brain gray matter. But it's still a very strange thing. There's a lot to hammer out. Maybe they can fix it, maybe they can't. They seem to feel pretty good about the fact that they can. I don't know. But it's one of those stories that clicks in my head, and I say, God, it's never as good as it sounds, is it? They've got to hammer out the defects. Because who knows what that means if that kidney's in your body for 10 years? You don't know what that means. Obviously, the C word comes up, right? The big C. That's all I could think. Oh, we have unknown, random cell growth. Well, the C word comes to mind. So let's move on to dynamic lifestyles. I think I've got what's been on my mind most recently. Tomorrow, Sunday morning, the son and I, we're going to go hike and climb Bear Fence Mountain off of Skyland Drive here in Virginia, which is, it's a lot of fun. You know, it's a strenuous climb. It's very rocky, and it's, you know, I'm not talking about climb straight up a wall of rock here. But I'm talking about rock scrambles and that type of thing, and it'll be cold and it'll be windy and we'll be bundled up and we'll have a ball. It'll be a good time. There's also the Conway River up there, pretty close to Bear Fence Mountain, and a tributary of that is called the Devil's Ditch, and I want to go check the Devil's Ditch out. Wild brook trout, wild brown trout, single hook restrictions. I don't know if you're aware about trout fishing specifically for wild trout, but a lot of times there are many restrictions. This special regulation has to do with single hook lures exclusively. So we'll only be able to do single hook, right? Which is, I've got answers to that. That's not a problem, right? If I were going by myself, I'd get out there with the fly rod. It wouldn't be an issue. But we're gonna spin a little bit probably in single hook lures. What's wrong, buddy? Oh, okay. So outside of the little wilderness exploration, mountain exploration, and wild trout fishing, that it's nothing new. I call it dynamic lifestyle material because I don't know how many people get out to do it, right? And it's a fun thing. It's a great thing. Fishing is life for me. It always has been. It's been that way for years and years. As far back as I can remember, I've been wielding the fishing pole in all sorts of settings for all sorts of fishes. Okay, I don't really need to go into it. But beyond this cold weather hiking, which I prefer it. I've done these cold weather hikes with my family and I really like it. I'm a guy who hates the cold and hates the winter. If it weren't for Christmas, there would be no reason for winter for me. But I'm so sick with Christmas, it's unbelievable. I'm actually starting to enjoy the cold. And I've also, to be honest with you, I've also been going out and enduring cold first thing in the morning. So I'll go out for about 5 minutes in the cold, no shirt on, no shoes, that type of thing, right when I wake up. And just enduring the cold for about 5 minutes while I'll check emails and do a couple business things on the cell phone. And just sit there and endure the freezing cold weather and come back in the house, and it gets your mind ready. It gets your mind ready for the task at hand. There's a ton of benefits. Maybe we'll talk about the cold when I've done it a little more. I'm not a big fan of the cold showers. It's okay. I really do like going out in the cold. That's something I like to deal with. But to that effect, I've been thinking a lot about cold camping. Something I never thought I would. I see these guys and they do the cold weather camps with the canvas tents and the wood stove inside the tent. And I don't know if this cold camping thing is catching on to me because, well, I think it's a couple of reasons, right? I'm obviously looking to extend my season. I'm looking for a way. For the longest time, my relationship with the outdoors ends in December-ish and doesn't start back up till like March. And I think subconsciously I'm looking for a way to just make sure that it never stops. And I may actually be moving, and this is what I talk about with dynamic lifestyles, with this idea that there's gems where you're uncomfortable. Right? For the longest time, I would run from the cold and say, I don't want to do anything. It's cold. Let me sit in the house. But the winter is a time of, for me, it's a time of great opportunity. I was talking to my father-in-law, Conrad, and years back, we got into this crazy idea of going out under the James River, which is it's a national treasure in terms of the smallmouth fishery. We're going out onto the James River, down on the tidal James, on boats in the coldest months of the year to catch giant catfish. And we had some luck, and Conrad actually stuck in there a little longer than me because I had too many restrictions with work and with kids that I got brushed off, to be honest with you. I didn't have the time to do it. And he had even more success than I did, and he's met a lot of people, and he went out on one of these cold weather fishing trips on the Potomac River, I think it was last week, and caught some of these giant fish, and there are opportunities in the cold, if you can deal with the cold. And there's something calling me to the cold. I don't know what it is. I've been thinking about cold weather camping. I've been looking forward to the December return of archery for deer this year. I haven't got out hunting. I'm trying to do less hunting and focus more on fishing lately because I've been abandoning one of my favorite things in life to sort of fit in little bits of other things. And I don't know. You know me, I'm all over the place. But what I wanted to get at with this segment is the idea that I've been running from cold most of my life, right? Not a big fan. And there's a pool all of a sudden, and I think it is the opportunity that's in the cold. And it might be the fact that I know I can go catch big 40-pound catfish in the cold on a boat. I know that there's less hunters out in the dead of winter for those extended seasons. And also, there is something to be said, and it might be the challenge itself, but there is something to be said just about making it out in the cold. Right? Because you survive nights out in the cold, and all of a sudden you understand, well, it is what it is now. I've done it in the cold. I know I can do it in any other temperature. If there's snow on the ground. So I don't know, man. You may hear more about me in the cold this year than ever before. I mean, I've caught bass in freezing. I've caught bass in January at the bottom of dams. you know, with hats and gloves and the whole 9 yards. There are opportunities in the winter. And I may be taking advantage of those opportunities. That might be how I do what I do all year long, as opposed to taking this time off to sit in the house and play video games and play guitar and that type of thing. But so let's touch on self-sufficiency before we call this show, you know, before we wrap this thing up. I want to know your thoughts on this new layout. I want to see what you think about it. Like I said, there's a lot of information out there. And I could go on tangents on tangents on tangents. And I want to keep it sort of themed out and keep it... I want you to understand, if I click this link, this is the information I'm getting. I'm going to hear James talk about strong communities. I'm going to hear him talk about healthy Americans and health in general. I'm going to hear him talk about dynamic lifestyles and what he can do and what I can do to be better. And I'm going to hear him talk about self-sufficiency. And I think more than anything, I was talking to my sister on the telephone the other day, and we were laughing about self-sufficiency in general because the Northeast got hit by snow, a whopping 6 inches of snow, and we were both laughing at the fact that we knew the shelves at the supermarket would be empty and barren. There wouldn't be any snow shovels or sleds or hats or gloves or caps or snow blowers anywhere. And I thought to myself, now is the time to talk about cold preps, right? Now's the time to talk about quality jackets and clothing for the cold. For me, there's nothing better than fur and fake fur for the cold, right? I bought one of those bomber caps about 2 years ago, and mine's fake fur. There's nothing real in there. I don't have a problem with real fur either, by the way. You know, there's a lot of people out there who are trapping animals. Trapping is not beautiful. It's not a good thing to watch. I'm not a big fan of it. If I'm in a survival situation, you better believe that trapping is going to be immediately what I start doing, because it's incredibly effective and I don't have to be around to do it. So, but for the leisure of it, no, I don't want to go trap a little raccoon's paws in a trap and watch him suffer for days on end, or find him after having suffered for days on end, still alive and exhausted. No, it's just me. If I'm going to kill something, it's going to be fast, right? Unless it's somebody who's done something very bad to me. I'm just kidding. No, but if an animal has to die at my hand, it's going to be quick and easy, okay? That's the way I do the chickens out back. That's the way that I've done anything that I've ever shot while hunting. All right, quick, easy, get it done. Nobody wants to die, trust me. There's not a single creature walking on this planet that's saying, you know what I want today? I want my life to end. So if it comes down to that, it's going to be quick, it's going to be easy, right? That said, what the hell was I talking about? The proper attire and using real fur. If I am out and I kill an animal, what am I going to do? Waste the fur? You want me to throw it in the trash? I don't know what the vegans want out of me. What do the vegetarians want? The PETAs? What do they want? I'm going to go out and I'm going to kill animals. It's going to happen, right? So what do they want? The real fur industry, I understand, right? With wholesale trapping animals, torturing them, they sit in traps for days. Okay. But leave me alone. But anyway, fur is king in the cold. Fur and wool. Fur and wool are king. If you're looking to upgrade how you deal with the cold weather, clothing-wise, those are the two directions you need to go, right? You need to look at wool, you need to look at fur, or fake fur. They both work well. The other thing is the shell. The shell is critical. If you're going to be in the cold and you're going to be in the cold precipitation, you've got to have a sturdy shell that you can put over your good coat, your good hat, your good whatever. You know, something that's going to keep that precipitation out, that snow, that sleet, that wintry mix, whatever it is. That's just the idea of clothing, right? Obviously, quality boots. Quality waterproof boots, that's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. When it comes to cold weather preparations within the home, I'm sorry, you have to have a generator. Don't think about anything other than a generator, right? That's number one for me. I've got a fireplace. I'm probably going to get a wood stove over the next couple years because to be honest with you, I know a lot of people are scared about the world heating up. I'm much more scared of the world cooling down. I'm reading articles about this solar minimum that's coming in 2020. I don't think it's going to be a doomsday scenario. But what happens if we see a 2 degree, 3 degree, 5 degree drop in average temperatures across the world? I don't know. Doesn't sound good. Doesn't sound good. Plus, I get nervous about scientific bias when it comes to climate and things like that, okay? I'm just going to be honest with you. It's not because I'm a knuckle-dragging conservative and I told you there wasn't no climate change. I knew it was a farce. Listen, it's not even about that. It's not even about some magic intuition. They just had reports come out the other day that were wrong. What was it, the ocean reports, the ocean temperatures? Oh, we fumbled that information. That wasn't right. Look it up. The ocean temperature readings that they said the ocean is much hotter than ever before, they just said we screwed up. It's not so hot. We messed up. So there's an inherent bias in climate science as far as I can tell, right? So when I read an article about the solar minimum and it talks about the fact that these solar minimums have before generated mini ice ages in recent times. I'm talking 1600s. Mini ice age. I don't know what that means and I don't know how to quantify it. But I can tell you that's what I read about one of these minimums in particular that affected the climate on the planet. It affected the overall temperature, right? So when I read an article and the scientists say, listen, thanks to the uptick in temperatures by climate change, by global warming, let's be honest, that's what they want to say, but they're not allowed to say it anymore. Thanks to the uptick in temperature from global warming, we don't have to worry about the solar minimum because temperatures are going to continue to rise. That's what this article said. I'm just telling you what it said, right? So they're banking on the fact that the world's getting hotter and it's going to continue to get hotter and the sun's going to slow down. That's what a solar minimum is. It means that the sun, it's losing sunspots, which is good news for the EMP if you know anything about that, right? Less sunspots means less chance of coronal mass ejection, but it also means less heat output coming from the sun. So what does that mean? The sun is not working as hard as it's been. To me, if I look at that very simply, I say to myself, okay, if the sun's taking a little bit of a break, now I'm not talking about going dark. You got to understand, it's a giant mass of nuclear explosions. There's going to be plenty heat. But is it going to be less than what we're used to? Yes, that's what it sounds like. I don't know how much or how little, but I can tell you right now, I'd be ready for it if I were you. The kids seem to be splintering down there. I don't know what they're doing, but they're running out of game time anyway. So we're going to have to come to a close on this one, folks. But as I told you, the generator and a supply of gas to power that generator, I think, is number one in terms of what you want to do when you're preparing for cold weather. The wood stove is great. But when you're talking about areas, all areas, you know, I live in an area where I would benefit from a wood stove in a big way because I have a lot of trees. I got tons of trees. I got standing dead wood right now that I'm eyeballing for firewood this year. I mean, I know it's not going to be cured in time and all that type of thing, but it's standing there and I know it's going to come down, so I'm probably just going to cut it down and split it myself and use it at the latter part of the year. But not everybody's so lucky. Not everybody has access to this kind of wood, but what we all have access to currently is gasoline. So my bet is let's get these portable generators and let's get yourself some small space heaters so that you could survive a power outage in the cold weather. Period. That's self-sufficiency. That's looking at a situation, that's looking at what I always talk about on the I Am Liberty show when it comes to disaster preparedness, and that's regional disaster. Do you get rain? Do you get ice? Do you get cold every year? Why don't you have the things you need to deal with that? Another incredible thing, I was playing around with this camping stove called the Soul Leader. The Soul Leader yesterday, it's a client job. They sent me one, they gave it to me for free and said check it out, give it a try. And it's one of these gasifier wood stoves. It doesn't require any alcohol tabs or it doesn't require any gas, that type of thing. It's just, I threw some wood in there, I threw a little construction paper in there to get it started, and boom, lit that thing up. I had water boiling in about 10 minutes. It's called the Soul Leader if you want to check it out. You've got to have an option for cooking. You may want to go that way. You may want to go the way of propane stoves or whatever. Maybe you cook on the grill, you stockpile charcoal, but have a means to cook. have a means to heat your house and make it an electronic means, trust me, okay? Unless you're like I said, if you've got a wood stove in your house and you get wood delivered and you know you're going to have enough, then whatever. Maybe you don't need to worry about it. For the most part, most people, they don't want to commit to that. They want to have a nice fancy, I've got my gasoline, or I'm sorry, my gas-fueled fireplace that looks real nice and I can turn it on and off at will. And when the power goes out, they got nothing. They got nothing. So obviously food on hand, water on hand, and all that type of thing. Now's the time to get that stuff. Let's not wait until the snow's falling. Oh my God, I need a snow shovel. I forgot that it snowed. I need salt. Actually, I'm running a little low on salt before I start making fun of people. I need to... First aid supplies on hand. And one of the biggest ones of all, and this is maybe how we'll end this segment, make sure you got a radio. Make sure you got an emergency radio so you'll have the ability to find out what's going on. Okay, we've had a blizzard, what now? X amount of power outages, when am I getting power back? What's the deal? That's all. It's not great. I don't want you to spend $1 million and build a bunker. Doesn't do you any good. 9 times out of 10, it's not going to do you any good. I'm on the fence about whether it's going to do you any good, period. Listen, it's James Walton, the I Am Liberty Show. Let me know what you think about this new layout. I hope you had fun. I had a lot of fun sitting here with the sun, the early morning sun at the window up here in the office. I had a ball. The Christmas hook is out. Please get it. We're going to be doing a reading. Starting in December, we're going to be doing a chapter every single day of the month in December. I think I'm going to work in tandem with DJ Cooper, and we're going to do that. We're going to do it on a Facebook Live or an Instagram. I don't know how we're going to do it yet, but stay tuned for that. The book is great. You're going to love it. Get out and get it. Read it to your children. It's heavy, man. It's a deep book. It's a little creepy. 3 kids, they find this strange little treasure, this little twisted little hand-forged hook. And it starts to affect their nightmares. They start to have these terrible nightmares. And they're trying to figure out why. And they're 9 years old. And there's so much going on. And they live in this impoverished little community. And the parents are fighting. And life is crazy. And the bullies and the... Listen, the stories, the bullies. All the while, Christmas season is upon them. And it's in a row home setting. And it's one of the most beautiful settings you can imagine for Christmas. It's one of the underdogs of the holiday season. So if you're into this, one of the most American of traditions, and I know it happens elsewhere and it has happened elsewhere, but the way we do Christmas, come on, let's be honest. I'm not into the death of the American tradition. And it's easy to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. There's enemies at the gates, both figuratively and literally, when it comes to American tradition. All right? And if you want to sit down and remember what Christmas was like in the 1990s, get yourself a copy of the Christmas Hook. You're going to love it, all right? We'll be live Wednesday night. Don't miss it. I think we're going to do holiday security, home security for the holiday season, okay? Because it's a nasty time and people get gross, okay? We've got to figure out how to deal with them. So we'll talk soon. James Walton with the I Am Liberty Show.